Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Experiment ETIT, which stands for Every Time I Try. I wanted to get on and talk about is difficult to speak. I don't know, I feel like when I watch my videos back, I do watch my videos back because that's how you learn, that's how you get better at making these videos, is basically the fact I'm not really utilizing my vocabulary as well as I typically do. And I think that I have a tendency to get nervous, and then I also have a tendency to get overzealous. A touch of anxiety boils up when you do these, just because of how fun they are and how eager I am to get this content out to you. So yeah, I definitely would have to say that so much of what I'm trying to say to you guys is lost in translation. Like, I know that the message that I was trying to get to tell you guys about, you guys heard. But throughout the years of me working and socializing, I have noticed that people can be overly critical of how one talks. And it might not even necessarily be me who they're talking about, but I would have to say that yes, a lot of the times when I take notice of it, somebody is either saying, well, hey, you know, what are you trying to say? I don't understand you. Can you please repeat what you're saying? I don't get that. What word is that? That's the wrong word. You're not making any sense. And these are the kinds of comments that can really be damaging to someone's confidence, self-esteem, their eagerness to want to talk and engage other people. Because if the minute you start talking, someone is going to cut you off. If the minute you start talking, someone is going to say, that makes no sense. Or if the minute you start talking, they say, can you please repeat the question? Or can you please repeat what you're saying? As if they are not listening to you. These are things that are difficult to cope with, but I think it is so important for us to continue to try and communicate. Like, over the years, I have definitely been more reserved with how I communicate and how I talk to people, only because of the fact that it starts to build up. You accumulate a lot of repressed psychosis over how you are perceived and how people take view how you communicate. And I don't necessarily think that I communicate really poorly. I think that a lot of the times when I'm talking to people, maybe possibly my silliness or my love for life and fun, lighthearted conversation may come across as a little bit naive, may come across as a little bit of a goofball. But at the end of the day, I do think that I speak eloquently. I do think that anybody who can carry a conversation for longer than 20 minutes, I don't think that we should be so harsh towards each other. I don't know, a lot of the times, and this might just be me, but I do feel like when you have a group of friends or within your family, if the minute you guys start talking, all you're doing is criticizing each other or being mean to each other or harsh to each other, then what's the point of having the conversation? And why would you want to continue to go out with a person that is only going to ridicule or be sarcastic towards you, or just a whole other slew of things? I have found that with finding like friends and socializing, and even with coworkers, it's one of those things where don't you tend to stay away from people that are quick to snap at you, or if they, I would even say that a lot of the times if you have a boss that, just gets on you and says tons of mean things, it's just interesting how that that works, because you could say, good morning, how are you? And they'll just dig into you. And it, to me, it really begins to be a point of, well, you have to find peers, and you have to find colleagues, and you have to find relationships that are going to help you grow and are going to help you nurture your individuality, your personality, the things that you like to talk about. Not everybody's going to want to talk about the things that you want to talk about. But if you find that people are just constantly critiquing you, then maybe it's time to either try and improve yourself, improve your way of communicating, speaking up for yourself, or also even questioning it doesn't make any sense for them to talk so harshly to you. Maybe they should check their own vocabulary and their own language, and critique their own words sometimes. So it is difficult for me to speak, and I want to say that most of the time it's become difficult for me to speak because of over the years of having so much backlash from how I talk, of, oh, you don't talk right. Why do you sound like that? Why do you sound like, I could sound like a nerd? I could sound like I am, how come you can't talk Ebonics? I'm sorry, I never learned Ebonics, so you can't really be mad at a person for not having the cool gene. And then there's the whole, well, if you don't use big words, like, okay, so I don't use big words, so I can't also be considered a scholar, a philosopher. I mean, you're never what people want you to be, and if you take that to heart, then you lose you. And that's the last thing that you want to do. You want to make sure that when this kind of stuff happens to you, when it consistently happens to you where you may not fit into a certain group, or you may not fit into a certain classification or age group. I had somebody the other day tell me that, I sound too young for my age. And I just was like, I'm going to take that as a compliment, because I mean, if my voice or my way of speaking makes me sound young and I'm older, then that's my prerogative. I think it's an amazing thing to speak like a young, youthful, full of vitality, young teenager or young college student. Who cares? Like, who cares? Why do you care if I sound like that? That's my prerogative. I love how I sound. So if it bothers you, there's the door. But I try, when people, and this is what gets me every time, I don't say anything to anybody about how they sound, how they look, how they act, how much money, how little money. So it takes a very strong individual to be able to reserve and hold your composure when someone does it to you. Just because I don't doesn't necessarily mean that they can't, but I do find that it gets to a point where when are we all just going to look inside and kind of talk to ourselves a little bit, nurture ourselves a little bit, stop and think, hey, why am I doing this to this young woman? Why am I doing this to this little kid? Why am I hurting this man offensively by being overly critical? And then maybe just hold those comments back to yourself, because they don't really help anyone, anything. They hurt you and they hurt the person that you're doing it to. If anything, this particular video that I'm making is to encourage me to talk regardless. I'm just going to speak no matter what. No matter if the comments on this video are hurtful, no matter if I don't get likes, no matter if I don't get subscribers, I am still going to talk, because I am a nice person. I am an incredible person. I am a worthy person of being able to talk to people. And people, there are people that get me, and there are people that get you. So don't ever stop talking the way that you want to talk. I was in the grocery store earlier today, and a gentleman was talking on the phone, and he said something, and it wasn't the way that I talk. And he said something, I can't even remember exactly what he said, but it was so refreshing.